Today I want to talk about offsite meetings and how they can help you to finally achieve the things that are important to you in your life. These important things in your life, your personal projects, decisions you need to make in your life, I would call them the elephant in your room. So rather than being an issue that everyone sees but chooses to ignore, it's an important thing in your own mind that relates only to yourself, that is really important for you to take care of, but that you have avoided for so long. In case you're not familiar with the term offsite meeting, an offsite meeting is a meeting held usually by larger companies where they gather their employees of a certain department or project team outside of the regular office premises and usually outside of the normal working hours to have a meeting that is dedicated to solve a certain issue or get ahead with a certain project, make big decisions, or develop a new project. It could be a number of things. The main idea is to get the people away from their business as usual, their regular activities, and sort of quarantine them in a space where they can dedicate their whole mental space and their energy to that one particular issue without being distracted. When people are at their offices, usually they are occupied with their day-to-day business. These include their daily responsibilities and tasks and things they have to do on an ongoing daily basis. So what usually happens when the company has a new direction or wants to launch a new company-wide project, what often happens is that the people are focused on their own agenda and they don't have the mental space to think outside of the box and to brainstorm. So by gathering all these people in one rather isolated location, you can make sure that everyone is focusing on the same goal and is concentrating on the same thing. And now I'm proposing similar concept for the individual, for you and I. So what happens to us is that we have these goals or decisions that we have to make that are overdue, that we've been postponing and we just don't have time for. But if we really want to get these things sorted out, if these things are really that important to us, then we really need to try and make time for these things. And that's why I think that an offsite meeting could be the first step towards doing that. It will not help you to immediately achieve your goal, but it will be the first step. I have many good friends and family members I talked with who told me about their goals, their ambitions, for example, to start a new business or maybe move to another country. And some are also pondering with important decisions such as whether or not they want to continue a long-distance relationship or whether they want to change their career and all sorts of other different things. And what happens is I meet them after several years, sometimes 3, 4, or 5 years, and we chat again. And I ask them whether they've made any progress in that particular thing. And the most common response I hear is, yeah, I really need to do that, but I just can't find the time for it. And I can totally understand. I mean, how could you possibly have the time for it in between your laundry and your cooking and your commuting to work and your meetings and your extended hours and working over the weekend? There's just no time left to think about yourself, right? I believe that almost every person has this one thing or several top things that they are thinking of on a regular basis and that occupies their mind, but they didn't have the time to tackle. But what happens if you have something that's very important to you and you know that you really care about this thing, but you don't do anything about it over years and years, then what happens is that this turns into regret. So if you want to avoid this from happening and try to at least have the least regret possible in the future, what you can do right now is to commit to yourself to have an offsite meeting with yourself. You can apply the same concept of an offsite meeting to yourself. What you do is you practically remove yourself from your day-to-day activities by having this meeting at a place that is far away from your office, from your home, even from your neighborhood possibly. This could be a cafe or a restaurant or a common working space, anywhere where you feel that you can work and think undisturbed. And what's also important is that you need to allow yourself sufficient time. I would say at least 5 to 6 hours or a full day. And the reason is because I think it's really hard to sit down and immediately get to the point of the issue, but usually what happens is that you need some time to get into the mood and into the mindset. So you might be asking, who am I meeting during this offsite meeting? In order to have a meeting, you usually need two parties. Would you be surprised if I told you that there are actually at least two parties in our own mind? The very reason why most people find it difficult to start something new, something very challenging, or make a final decision on something is because in fact there are many opposing voices in our head. And having an offsite meeting with ourselves really gives us the opportunity to let these opposing voices battle each other. So let's say, for example, right now you live in Australia and you are planning to move to the United States to start a new life there. There might be tons of pros and cons swirling around in your head. On one hand, you are bored of your life and you want to start something new, but on the other hand, you have your family and your best friends in Australia, but then again, you think it's time to move on and you think you're not that young anymore, and if not now, then when, and another million things. When you think about all these complicated things during your daily life, it's really easy to get distracted and interrupted in your train of thought. So by having an offsite meeting, you can really have this block of 3, 4, 5, even 6 hours to really create the mental space you need to dive into that important question and focus all your energy on it. Another reason why I think that it's important to have an offsite meeting with yourself if you want to really make progress on something important is because by doing that, you signal to yourself that this is actually something very important to you and that it deserves your time and energy, and that it is in fact a priority. Think about how companies do town hall meetings to celebrate their achievements and announce their quarterly results or their plans for the business going ahead. By this, they want to communicate and signal to their employees how important this is and what the priorities of the business are. So why would it be so crazy to do this with yourself? By having this offsite meeting with yourself, you tell yourself, hey, I actually really want to start this pet hotel business. And you also give your own projects or decisions you have to make significance by allowing the proper time that you actually need to sort things out. So an offsite meeting is also a symbolical act. It's like cutting the ribbon towards starting something new. Having an offsite meeting has helped me during many critical stages in my life. During that time, my place of choice was the public library. I love the fact that I was in the midst of all these books, all these resources, so that if I needed any kind of information or needed any motivation or any guidance, I could just grab one that is relevant off the shelf. And besides that, there was no one in the library I could bump into who I knew, or there wasn't the possibility that suddenly my roommate would knock on my door and other things. So I really could get a peace of mind there and have clarity and mental space to focus on making the decision. And there were even certain issues or decisions that I had to make that I could not figure out in one session and I needed several sessions for, but finally I would come to a point where I told myself, I will not leave this library, I will not leave my seat until I've made a decision, at least a temporary one. If there's something that's been bugging you, a project that you want to start, a decision that is overdue that you have to make, then I would suggest to you, take it seriously. You owe yourself the time. Make it a priority by having an offsite meeting with yourself. Prepare it in advance, have an agenda, think about the things that you want to think about or brainstorm, mind map. Don't drag it out any longer. Try to avoid being in a situation where you tell your friends or family again, I just didn't have the time to start that. I just didn't have the time yet to think about it. Maybe next year, or let's see, I don't know. Put an end to that by having an offsite meeting with yourself and getting clarity on that. So the goal of having this offsite meeting with yourself is to at least give you the chance to acknowledge the elephant in your room, look at it and see what's the matter with it and decide what you are going to do about it. Do you want to inch by inch try to get the elephant out of your room, or do you want to accommodate it, or it's up to you. So if I've convinced you to do an offsite meeting with yourself, but you are still a bit confused on how to do it and what it would look like, then please check out my other video that I will put up sometime this week, and I will add the link later in the descriptions below so you can access it easily. In that video, I will basically explain to you how to have an effective and productive offsite meeting. I hope this video was useful for you. I hope this has given you some insight and some ideas on how you can make progress on the things important to you in your life. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and please also leave your comments in the comment sections below. I would really be interested to know what you think about this. And if you don't want to miss out on any other videos, please don't forget to subscribe, and it's also really important that you hit the little alarm bell at the bottom so that YouTube will notify you if there are new videos from me. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for dropping in, and see you again soon.